on the new laptop, and I hope it's all working correctly. I spent the last few hours setting it up, so make sure you hit that 4K. Welcome back to the stream, everybody. It's your captain speaking. It's 8:11 p.m. Eastern on Central Florida. Beautiful night tonight with our crescent moon, waxing crescent. I think it's in the range of 38%-ish. I don't have Stellarium installed. I don't have a bunch of stuff installed, but let me know if you can hear me okay. That's the main thing, and see the moon, of course. I got some Saturn coming up as well. Want to hop in here in the chat, say what's up to V-Smart, Peace, and Dagger Spells. Evening. Nice to see you. Red Rum, what's up? 24/7. Nice to see you, OG, old friend. Glad you're doing well. Let's see. Fantasy X, what's happening? What's happening, everybody? Yeah. So, gosh, if I sound a little jelly-brained, it's because it took me like 3 hours to get everything set up correctly. And I had the moon in sight for a while, so I've been also doing astronomy for a few hours, and I am a little bit, yeah, a little mellow tonight. But having a good weekend so far. I see DJ Macro Sun in the chat. What's happening? Alright, good. So yeah, so I don't have my sketching stuff and my slides and stuff, so tonight's going to be kind of just chat, watch the moon, scoot over to Saturn for a little bit. Saturn is looking really small. I haven't seen Saturn in a while, but we shall go over there, see the flip side, dark side of the moon, talk about craters. Name of the show tonight is Evolving Astronomy. It's what I've been talking about for a few years now, but putting all the pieces together from all the different theories. A couple of weekends past, I started streaming again. If you haven't been here in a while, I took a few months off. I took like 8 months off, 9 months off. Is that Wolfman Jack in the chat, or Wolfman? Or is it not Wolfman Jack? I don't know. Good evening from Snowflake, Arizona. Welcome. Shout outs. Is it you? Let me know, because that would garner a proper aru. Yeah, but that was I got to practice my arus. Yeah, so I'm gonna pour myself a drink, let this moon cook a little bit, let everyone get settled, and we'll talk about some other ideas I had. So I've been studying lots of these. Lots of consciousness videos lately, a lot of stuff about self, other, about unified field. I've caught up pretty much on everything, and I realize like there are some really fundamental questions that don't get talked about very often that I'll bring up tonight, but a lot of yada-yadaing going on in science nowadays. Wolfman, okay, sorry about that, didn't mean to confuse you with someone else. Welcome. Everybody's their own person, of course. What am I sipping? I think I'm going to crack open like a beer or maybe some Prosecco or something. Like, I got to go check what's in the fridge, but definitely going to pour myself a drink. Randy Robinson, what's going on? Good evening from the Gulf Coast, shout out. Arum Vorax, 'tis indeed that Electric Vibe Tune channel. Kind of starting over on this new laptop, so yeah. Keep me, yeah, tunes. Let's get some tunes in here. What should we start off with? Let's do some Cactus Dance here. I'll be away from the keyboard for a couple of minutes while I pour this drink. I'll be right back, y'all. Let's rock. What up, Mr. Wonder One? See ya. Everyone else join us. know if that was a little too crackly or popping on a phone, or if it's sounding good on the speakers. So I found a little tiny bottle of Prosecco, so I'm going to cheers y'all to that. I'm going to cheers with y'all with that tiny little bottle of Prosecco. That's cute. That's what I'm going to drink tonight. Yeah, so shout outs to all you little spacelings. I see a little bit of buffering here, that's alright. So yeah, what I want to talk about, I had so much to talk about this week. All I could think about is getting on stream and discussing these topics. But I think a big one is I've been watching Closer to Truth and all these different interviews with cognitive neuroscientists, people talking about consciousness, the self. And this kind of common thread, which I brought up on the last stream a week ago, about how they don't want to be decisive when it comes to a certain type of idea. For example, something like, excuse me, something like the observer effect, where they're taking quantum measurements and they know for sure that the observer or the experimenter has an effect on these experiments, and yet it's still treated as some sort of paradox where they want clean results with an experimenter extricated from those results, which just doesn't seem possible. So I want to say hi to Miguel. What's going on, Miguel? And I see Ellie Wynn in the chat. What's happening? Wonderful to see you. Was it a bad day for SpaceX? I missed that. They were launching gosh, completely forgot. Completely spaced for a second. But yeah, there was a launch this morning. But I didn't check anything as I've been busy. Let's see. V-Smart says I didn't hear anything peaking or distorting. Sounded fine. Awesome. Amy G, awesome to see you. Hope you're feeling great tonight. Yeah, let me quickly touch on a couple of these topics while I have them top of mind. So, of course, we got the observer effect, which is the reason that I think that it's very important, right? Is that, for example, you get all these different types of articles talking about the speed of light did this, and photons do that, and quantum states do this. And I think it's important to note that pretty much every experiment that's ever been done on these types of, with this type of data or this types of experiments is done, and there's always some sort of thing called the observer effect. And I think there's a reason for that. I think the reason for that is that humans emit energy or radiation. We basically create heat and electricity and radiate into the field. And this field, in whatever context it interacts with the experiment, has an effect on the results. Especially at these tiny, like, quantum states where you're essentially the beams coming out of your eyes, the radiation that is focused from our eyes, is actually affecting the quantum state of photons. And so these measurements cannot be replicated pretty much a lot of the times. So you have a lot of papers and a lot of articles talking about these very huge topics where they've had these breakthroughs, but they continue. If you see the consensus among science, I guess, publicly, is that they disregard this idea of an observer effect as a paradox. So is it a quantum state? Are we a quantum state? Do we really affect the experiment? But in fact, it's just a fact. I mean, I know facts are also negligible nowadays, but in essence, these results are changed by the experimenter or the observer. And so it would be amazing in terms of evolving astronomy or science in general, is to take this paradox, the so-called paradox, and turn it into a decisive factor, which means you're going to have to start doing math and science past the fact that there is an observer effect in every single experiment. So it's very much, the reason they don't want to do that is it's very complicated, and it also kind of throws a lot of the experiments so far into question. So that's kind of, I think, the two reasons why we don't really do it, besides many others and dogma, academic dogma, and so forth. However, let's see. Yeah, however, I think it's important to set these kind of new decisive parameters or paradigms or baselines for science to start working on the same idea, but further down the line or more expanded into the field. So I think one of them, of course, the observer effect. I think it's super important. Look into that, or let me know what you think of that. Do you think that we should have this point where science has a consensus and says, look, there is an observer effect, we can measure it, and therefore every single experiment of this nature, or pretty much in general, is really determined by the observer. We have to integrate the math of the quantum state, or the quantum system of the observer, into the final results. So, let me know what you think of that. I see Rune Thorson in the chat. What's going on? Pancakes and chill. Love it. Donald Yates, what's up? Welcome. Says, definitely the observer is the one piece they do not consider. So yeah, like I was saying, I was watching that Closer to Truth show, and a lot of the not just cognitive neuroscientists, but like metaphysicians, theologists, philosophers, all of these guys kind of acknowledge that it exists, but tend to kind of finish up the discussion at the end where it's a paradox, where it's something we can't get past. We just can't get past this fact that it could be or couldn't be. But I think it's very hard to move past a certain point if you don't come to it, if you don't choose one of the directions. So you're at a fork in the road, and are we going to treat the observer effect as a paradox and try and get clean data from an experiment, or are we trying to say, hey, the human or whatever conscious entity is observing or taking this measurement is having an effect on the measurement? So that's an idea. Mr. 1-to-1 says they don't speak out about it. They don't speak about it because it points towards digital reality. So I think this is something we talked about, like simulation theory, the idea of the projected reality. But I would actually say that, like, even if it is a digital reality, it doesn't take away all the other things, right? The unified field theory can also represent a digital projected simulated reality, but it doesn't make it less real, I think. 24/7 says James Webb, like the James Webb Telescope, is free from human interference. And Hubble too, but I don't think I agree with that, because ultimately robots are not using the data. Humans are using the data. So as soon as humans interpret the data, actually it's a very interesting, I think, nuanced idea here, which is, yes, we can with mathematics and science, you can create outlines of experiments and results, right? And you can say something like, this telescope that's outside Earth is actually free from human interaction. But that's one of these statements that sounds really grand and scientific and immutable, but I think you have to consider that ultimately the results from these experiments come into play where humans are looking at these results from Hubble and any type of telescope. So you bring it there, right? So you do take, if we think about it like this, every person who looks at a photograph or a video doesn't have the same interaction with it as the next person. Even if it's very similar, it's still dissimilar in a tiny way. Which goes back to the larger point of, you know, everybody on Earth looking the same but a little bit different. The ratio, this inverse law of like 10 to 90, 20 to 80, 5 to 95, 1 to 99, this ratio of existence of dark matter to matter is the same kind of correlate, I think, when it comes to the fact that everybody sees an image from Hubble in one way, but also each person looks at that same photo, even if it's been garnered from a telescope that's been far out of Earth. You bring it home, and we look at those photos, and each person changes it slightly to fit their own idea. So that's, I think, like a continuation of that thought, which I was also thinking of when I listened to those talks, where no matter what, ultimately, humans are the ones taking these results and measurements into account and discussing them, and therefore you still can't extricate the observer. What do you think? I see Astralis Ren. Welcome, welcome. Sending you love. Sorry that today sucked. Oh man, I am a little bit like out of breath here, just trying to, you know, talk about all these thoughts. Also, lots of planes tonight. You hear that? What do you think about that idea that, like, even if you have this thing that's distant, seemingly away from humans, that still, ultimately, there's this other thing, too, which is the radiation of all humans on Earth into space is a massive amount of actual radiation if you think of the heat generated from metabolism and also the electrical body. We are radiating fields and, like, tons of radiation into the Earth sphere and the magnetosphere, and also extends out into space. So human influence is there, always. I see Shockwave in the chat. What's going on? Says, taking a break from gun stuff and looky, it's Chris and the Moon. Hiya, guys. Welcome, welcome. Nice to see you, brother. Mr. Wonder One says confirmation bias, basically. Well, you know, confirmation bias has its, you know, has every little idea has its both sides, right? So, you know, sometimes confirmation bias makes sense in certain ways. Because, again, like, not everything is wrong, and not everything is falsified. Some things are, typically, things are mostly true with a little bit of falsification, which is why it's easy to be seduced by it. 24/7 says, is the cat dead or alive? In reference to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So it's like if a tree falls in the woods. So I've listened to a lot of different points of view on this, and what I think is that there is there's an entangled reality. I think the question of whether you open the box or not, if you, I guess there are a lot of ways to answer it, but two ways. One is if you put a cat in the box before you closed the box, if you created that thread of consistent unified reality by imploding etheric field into a cat, into a box, and you had other people who confirmed that in terms of a cat being in the box, then closed the box, then there would be no uncertainty principle to speak of, because you'd know that there's a cat in the box. If you don't know previously that there was a cat in the box, you have a probabilistic chance of guessing whether there was a cat in the box. So those are the actual, I think, physical answers to that, you know, thought experiment. I don't think that it somehow says that if that somehow the Heisenberg uncertainty principle somehow negates the fact that we co-create reality when we see it. Because I've heard a lot of people talk about it. You need an observer. But the thing is, people consider that only other people or animals are observers. But in fact, a quantum state, a quantum entity, like a single unit of a Planck unit of hydrogen, is itself aware and sentient, which is a whole other topic that I'm not gonna say I'll talk about it later. It is the topic that I really want to talk about, which is quantum sentience. You know, like, what is the level at which things are conscious and why? You know, but 24/7, is the cat dead or alive? Yeah, did you? This idea is probabilistic, right? If you put poison in the box, if you put a live cat in there originally, if you put a dead cat in there originally, I think we live in a scientific world where there are these very, like, profound sounding experiments, like Newton's bucket experiment, and these very kind of simplified, populist, materialist ideas that got us this far. But there are new ways of looking at things, I think. When you look at it from a multi-directional, interaction standpoint between self and field, and realize that these experiments themselves are just ideas. You know, these are just concepts as well. None of this is physics. I say that, but it's actually not. It's really like everything is physics, ultimately, even these ideas. So, alright, Miguel, take it easy. Donald Yates says, weird science. Donald Yates also says, zoologists who make scientific behavior studies don't consider their presence and bias can change the behaviors. So it's true on, I agree with that. I think it's on many levels, right? It's not just the quantum state. So the radiation from human bodies affect photonic experiments. but also just the attitude of a person taking an experiment with an animal, right? The calmness of a person, the ease of their speaking, their energy. We talk about it all the time. This affects experiments too. Yo, 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 Lost Brooklyn. Great to see you. Been a minute. Shockwave says, it depends on how long the cat has been in the box without food or water as to, yeah, so there's a probability of what happens to the cat based on prior knowledge. And this is, you know, falls into line with like a deterministic universe, but at the same time I think you can only pose that question based on that type of thinking. If you pose the Heisenberg uncertainty like concept in a vacuum, which nothing is, right? Everything is interconnected. But if you pose it in a vacuum, it can sound very grand and almost self-nullifying. You have these ideas that defeat themselves, and which is why we don't have decisive science. We have these ideas that perpetually feed more ideas as opposed to answers. Astralis Ren says, true panpsychism. Yeah, so this is something that, you know, Rupert Sheldrake has talked about, but I think if you take it even further and more decisive, you can think about this idea that, like, why is somehow, well, not why, we think, or science thinks, that humans are sentient or conscious, right? But they also think that at some point on Earth, there was no consciousness, there was no consciousness, or there was no sentience. This is a common thread with all those videos I watched. But it really, like, makes less sense that Earth was not already sentient and gave rise to more complex sentience than there was no sentience at all that gave rise to the complex nature of life. Like, yes, it sounds more seductive and more romantic to think at one point Earth had no life on it, and then there was life, because there's this God moment of the spark of creation, or single-celled bacteria, like mitochondrial DNA turning into the next stage of life. But does it make more sense? Doesn't it make more sense that the oceans on Earth and all the pressure-cooked nature of Earth would create life everywhere on Earth at the smallest levels, right? These tiny bits of these tiny organisms would become the multicellular organisms, but those organisms themselves are sentient for the very reason that they know boundaries and they know response react. At the very tiny, like, slime mold and like amoeba structures, they basically know a tiny point and they know a boundary, and they push, they vibrate in the field, and they send out resonance into the field, and the field returns an answer, and they grow based on this answer. They retain the answer, and they create another ping, Doppler ping, into the field. And we create another answer, and then you grow this shell of information and awareness. But this idea that somehow there was no sentience on Earth, and then there was, just makes much less sense to me now. So tell me what you think in the chat. Does that make sense? I see Reginald Roberts. Hello, hello, long time. Great to see you in the chat. The Secret Life of Plants is an amazing piece of documentation. And yeah, I mean, plants are definitely aware and alive, right? I mean, I love that recommendation 24/7. Actually, everybody should check out Secret Life of Plants. But I think maybe I'm wrong about it, but I feel like that's where they created. They attached electrodes to different plants and emoted and created different types of circumstances for the plants to react, and measured the stimulus from these plants. Now, that's interesting for so many reasons. One, because of course it did show ultimately that plants had an awareness, a type of awareness. Two, the connection between the means of experimentation is electric. So plants are electric, and we humans are electric. And this is part of the show that I'll keep, I mean, part of the talk tonight, which is electricity at large, and like what metabolism is, and this idea, again, how if you type into YouTube or Google, you're like, how does the human body produce heat? Or how does the human body produce electricity? And you'll realize that there's a lot of yada-ing going on, where they're like, oh, don't ask big questions, it's just metabolism. And then I'm like, okay, so explain metabolism. They're like, it's just chemistry. That's Cora, you know? They love to wrap up these little obnoxious nuggets of truth where they're like, this is what it is, that's it, we've decided, science has decided, it's just chemistry. Take it further. The human body generates heat and electricity from where? Where is this from? So there's an idea that somehow humans are disconnected from the field and space and Earth, and yet we also generate heat and electricity in the common sphere of science, right? Go to any science video, they're like, of course the human body is electric. It's an electrical body made of microorganisms that are intelligent. They won't say that, but they do. They say the brain assembles itself, self-assembling, DNA self-assembling, self-splitting, proteins self-split and turn into diachotron instabilities on their own. On their own, not humans. Humans don't do anything. Only proteins know what they're doing. And I think this disconnection idea makes less sense than humans are directly connected to space, directly connected to the field, through wiring, invisible wiring that we don't see. But it's basically outlining each of our hairs on our head, and we ground into the floor, into the earth. And if you take it like that, the electricity and the heat generated in each human body and every single atom we know where the source is. It's almost a direct connection, saying, no, humans generate electricity, but we're completely detached from the environment. It makes so much less sense than we're directly connected to space through wiring, and that's where we get the electricity and heat from. What do you think about that in the chat? Let me know. All right, time for a little break and a little track. Gnostic Chef, good to see you, Chef. The ultrasonic pops occur in rapid bursts. Wait, what did I miss? Oh gosh, you popped in a little bit earlier. I'm sorry I didn't see you. Excuse me. Says, nice to see you streaming. Awesome. Daniel Dennett. I liked what I listened to. I listened to Daniel Dennett a bit, and I think there is a little bit of the, I don't want to say they're logical fallacies, but there is a bit of indecisiveness, or a lot of indecisiveness with all these cats, including Daniel Dennett. Like, it sounds like decisiveness. It sounds like he's come down on the side that, on his ideas, but he's almost saying, we'll never know the answer. And you know that's not what TakeBackSpace is about. TakeBackSpace is actually coming to a conclusion about things. So for me, I will probably listen to a lot more of his work and talks, but I've listened to maybe 2 or 3 at this point, and there is a little bit of the, it's either ignore the self is unimportant, which to me is completely ridiculous, and then the meaning of life is beyond us because brains are more complex than brains can conceive of. But I just don't think that to be sweepingly true. I think many, by nature, 90% of people won't be able to see that, but a small group of people will be able to notice that the brain is a fractal, and that, yes, you will be able to understand how consciousness works. There's no reason that we shouldn't be able to know, since we are the brain, like we are the actual thing we're talking about. Secret Life of Plants, hell yeah, second, Astralis Ren says, I heard a plant sigh once. It's beautiful. I think I have too. I've heard that we hear the trees sigh constantly. The trees are like, oh, not again. Not again. You've made us you've insentient us. You've desentient us. No, that's not going to work. You basically lowered us to a class of intelligence, and trees, I bet, are more profoundly, like, I don't think they're more intelligent than humans. I think they're just a version of us, right? Bugs are a version of us. Atoms are a version of us, or we're a version of atoms on a much higher vibrational frequency, or along a much higher vibrational frequency. Lindsay Love, what's going on? Nice to see you in the chat. I appreciate your comment. Lindsay says, I agree. Science will never have a theory of everything until we acknowledge the observer, because the universe is literally arising in consciousness. I believe it's more fundamental than the physics. Absolutely. I think that's a really big part of it. The observer, or the self, really the nucleus of an atom and the shell, Earth and the magnetic fields, humans and the biofield, and on, apple seed and the apple flesh. I'll give you an example, like things that we don't consider sentient know boundaries, right? They know their own boundaries. Like apples don't clip like 3D into each other because they know the shape of their boundary, right? Apples don't move, you know, they get forced into each other by the pressure of the ether or the universe or whatever, dark matter. But apples themselves know their own skin boundaries. Humans know their own boundaries. Not everybody, etc., etc. Planets, asteroids, etc., the sun. These boundaries do exist. Let's see. 24/7 says, yes, they control their own environment. They can recognize individual people. These are plants. Says, yes, they hooked up the plant to a tone generator and it sang. Yeah, so I think it's a vibrational, like, if you were to ask me directly, what do you think life is? I think it's pure energy or pure light or pure information or consciousness, and it arises into these complex forms in a balance of pressure and release, or vibration and stillness, or compression and rarefaction. And every single form of life, from the tiniest to the largest, is a I don't want to say simply or just, but it is a vibrational entity of light along a resonant frequency. That's how I think that we can have a resonant frequency for what a human is. And that's how you can have 8 billion people, but that resonance will always vary very subtly. And that subtle variance is why 8 billion people basically look the same, but a little bit different. Gnostic Chef says, true, he, in terms of Daniel Dennett, says, gets wishy-washy on topics, but I love the way he presents. I do too. I actually like his whole energy. Kind of reminds me of an old friend of mine, but Genghis Khan, what's going on? Good vibes to the TBS tribe. Apple and DNA, you got it. But yeah, Daniel Dennett, I kind of dig him, you know. Okay, good time for a little break here. What song are we playing? Gonna do... I want to play some of the newer stuff. Let's do Bougie Boogie. This one's from last season, cycle ago. Back in a couple. 700 lives we live, innocence. I've known you forever. 7,000 nights are red. Soul inside your bubble time, racing tonight. Intervals divided, one Beverly as a time. Would you know the life we had, and still we live our love so bad? It was always electrical. 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 It was always it's like the perception's guardian fractal harmonic.
reservation, guest stars. Never mind this old honeymoon. We can make some more. You're something beautiful, subtle energies. I told you once we never. You've known this forever. There was always electrica. It 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 was always electrica.
All right. It was always electrical. It really was. I mean, I don't know why there was a time in science where we abandoned this idea that humans were directly connected to space and electrical entities, but we find ourselves in an age where people are still treating the body as a separate thing from the environment. However, if you look up all these scientific theories, they also think that the human is an electrical body. So we have this weird disconnect between people talking and creating new resolve and new solutions past the point that we've agreed that the human body is electric. I want to hop in and say, just make a note based on, who said it? Let's see. Michael Levin. You were talking about Michael Levin, Gnostic Chef. So I really like Michael Levin. I think he's the closest to what I'm talking about in terms of mainstream. He's done work with the planarium worm and cutting parts off different worms and having them grow back. Noticing that you stimulate these organisms with either high frequency or light radiation, and you can create new limbs and new eyes. Excuse me. So I think his work is super fascinating. I think he talks about it in terms of field and energy, but I think the thing that Michael Levin and many of them are missing is the connection. Like, where does the electricity and metabolism and cell mitosis, and where does the vibration come from? Right? Where does the power, the internal power that we may call the soul or the spirit, you know, the breath of human life, without the environment? It's just, you know, for me, it's one of those things that I've just been indoctrinated to think that, you know, humans are not only the smartest and most conscious and most sentient, and honestly for a while the only sentient things on Earth, not part of Earth. And also, secondarily, we're also a cancer that's destroying Earth. But no one's ever said we're an emergent property of Earth that is resonant with Earth, and it's pure consciousness. It's pure wiring. It's like mycelium root systems, but electrical. But it's not but electrical. It's mycelium root systems are tiny little manifestations, or giant manifestations, of the actual electrical root system. There is no nerve or synapse that is not created along a pre-existing dark matter filament or electric universe filament, but they talk about it. Things are grown along filaments. People, nodes, planets, Earths, ideas, nothing is disconnected in this field, and therefore we have a really disconnected science. What do you think about that? Let me know in the chat if you think humans are not only the only conscious thing, but also are we disconnected from our environment? So somebody like Michael Levin never really talks about like how and where the electricity for this life comes from, even though he's acknowledged that there is this idea between self and field, like a resonant property. But I really think they don't understand where electricity comes from. You know, I think that's the hugest part of it. Donald Yates says, I watched that Rupert Sheldrake talk on the sense of being watched, which I think is called scopisthesia. The observer does emit electric vibrations. Yeah, so this is something that really just breaks your brain when you first hear it, because you're like, no way. Photons fall into my eye. Everything reflects light from the sun, and that's how I see things. But nobody considers that our radiation, the human body, radiates into the field. So we're emitting radiation constantly. So imagine your brain, this intense, like, walnut of tangled, I mean, not just the elemental structure of the brain, but the torsion and the tightening and the squeezing and the knotting of the brain. This produces an immense amount of radiation, actually, on a quantum scale, and it's being through our eye sockets, which already are electrical in nature. They're just called sockets, which is crazy. Are things only being plugged into our eyes, or is it a dance between us looking at things and things coming to us? And I think it's way more interesting and expansive if we consider that our co-creation, where the radiation from our spinal column, which is already the outline of a Birkeland current or a dark matter filament, is radiating through our body and out every orifice. We're emitting intensely focused mathematical, sacred geometrical radiation, especially from our eyes, because our eyes send out these tiny, like, photonic beams. So we're sending out light of a type of frequency, and it's these entangled compression rarefaction, which, if you look at Dan Winter and his work on how we have these cascading, and Buddy Doherty too, these cascading spirals into the field, but then our eyes also create like a point where they focus, the focal point. And this focal point is actively entangling, quantumly entangling with the field in almost like a diffusion type model. If you know anything about what's happening with AI, the same way the algorithm goes out, or like the LLM, the machine learning model, goes and finds a frame in latent space, our eyes are sending out signals into latent space and co-creating the geometry of reality based on our own template, which is why everything looks like humans. Trees look like humans, humans look like trees, trees look like plants. I mean, like grass and flowers. Flowers look like animals, and on and on and on. The pareidolia and the fractal geometry of nature is baked into the structure of how it all comes to be. It's not, we have birds and people and earth and space, and woo, that's really coincidental that they all look the same. It's the opposite. Like, it starts with them looking the same because that's how it arises, and then we reflect upon it. Let's see. So, Mr. One-to-One says, I think Earth is growing. I like that idea. I think it's not growing massively. I think there is this type of expansion, but there's also contraction. And this is kind of a little bit of a different topic in terms of where planets are from and how they're formed versus the accretion model, and this idea that planets are formed by clumps of matter forming together to create a complex Earth, versus an Earth and a Moon, for example, having been the centers of stars. Shoutouts to Jeff Walensky. So anybody who follows me knows I've talked about Jeffrey Walensky, but if you haven't checked out his work, you really should. Just give it a fair shake and just listen to what he's talking about. But it's so out there for many that he's really unknown. But I will still sing his praises for this idea of the fact that planets are cooked at the center of a star, and that's where the complexity of life comes from. And ultimately, everything in our solar system, from Jupiter to Uranus to Neptune to the Moon, can all be explained as a star at different points in its lifetime. So our Sun, Jupiter, Earth, Moon, all of it is just the same object at a different point in its resonance. Much more cohesive, holistic, thoughtful way of thinking about the universe and our solar system versus the sun made everything. Everything is the same age. We don't know why Jupiter looks this way. We're not really sure why Neptune is or Uranus is on its side. We have no idea how the Earth came to be. Maybe it was captured. Who will never know? Seconds after the Big Bang. Completely just like so out there, and like, why are we asking these wild questions when We have really logical premises to begin work on. Let's see. Gnostic Chef says, like it's breathing. I like that. Your chest expands to be followed with a contraction, but no new skin is produced. Well, that's not true. I think that I think that every breath of every entity is an oscillation, and that oscillation into the field creates a new onion skin of memory that we can re-experience. I'll give you this thought experiment and then I'll play a song here. There's an idea here where how do you define a strong memory or a weak memory? Right? Something you remember lightly or something you remember strongly. So if you think about quantum entanglement, if we are carrying a sphere of memories around our body in a layered etheric plasma dark matter array around the body, when you resonate with a memory, you are actually not changing the past, but you are quantum entangling with a prior state of existence. So when we look out into space, we are looking out at history embedded into the field, which is why, you know, scientists think, or at least postulate, that we're looking into the past when we look at light coming from a distance. I don't know if I look at it as light traveling from that distance, because I'm not sure that light travels. I think that light is, and everything resonates within a light field, and light is light, entities are light perceiving itself, or their selves. Marky Rizzo, what's going on? Almost 20 peeps. Awesome Saturday night stream. It's 9 p.m. sharp here, talking about consciousness, talking about evolving astronomy, connectedness with the etheric field. Let me know in the chat while I play this song, you know, how you think that the human body actually exists at all, or how it creates electricity or heat, besides telling me it's metabolism or it's just chemistry. Let me know what you think, and I'll play us another jam here. This one's called Fine Fixer. Fine Fixer.
Rise divine, but we got nature. network, and you sending pictures from across the astral plane, and you sending cryptic kisses across the matching network. So call me up, and let's get down, 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 down. So call me up, and let's get down, 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 down. Fortunate somebody, so full of loss, so full of joy, somebody, so full of loss, so full of loss. Je t'attends, l'amour va s'aturer, ainsi l'amour que la nuit s'y met, achetant l'éternel, avec mon ensemble. Je suis là même pourtant l'avant et chaque jour, je t'attends, l'amour avec les mecs sans l'agréter, et c'est mon âme magnétique, c'est l'amour magnétique, c'est mon amour magnifique. Cool running, no water, you water, 'cause water is water, whatever it takes. Please, I've been dreaming from the heart eye, no lie, been beaten from the heart eyes, no why, no why, no why. So call me up, and let's get down, 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 down. So call me up, and let's get down, 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 down.
Alright, a little bit of Willpowered. I haven't heard that one in a while. Nice to groove with y'all on that. I see Tetrapodum, what's going on? Welcome. And Rockstar 8970, Abel, nice to see you. It's been a while. I realize I never actually said that whole name out loud. Rock OG. Cool. Well, I'm glad y'all appreciate the song. I switched up the lens here, so now we're on the 8-inch scope with the camera directly connected, no focal reducer, and I'm zoomed in at Mare Crisium. It's been a while, Mare Crisium. You can see Proclus, which is the very distinct bright point between Mare Crisium and Mare Tranquillitatis to the left, top left. But let me know if you notice this really just right out the gate, how this X-human kind of structure, if you say that Proclus, the bright point in the middle, is actually the human's stomach, or like right at the center of the pelvis, and then at the top you see the head near Cleomedes, and then you have this structure which is not only found in nature, well, it's found everywhere. You can see the X structure, but it's really this cross-section of a torus. It's the pinch of a plasma, a Z-pinch, or a node. It's also the hypotrochoid hourglass shape. It's also the bridge of the human nose. The placement of Mare Crisium and Mare Tranquillitatis are where your eye sockets would be, and every creature's eye sockets are symmetrical because of this exact shape. But not just that, if you look at the cross-section of a human head from the top down and look at the optic nerve, this exact X type of shape also exists, because not only are we cross-section filaments, or like Z-pinches of filaments crossing each other vertically, but also horizontally in 3 dimensions. So you can see the embodiment, as well as the hexagonal nature here of Mare Crisium, which no one seems to want to acknowledge. It's circular, but it's actually hexagonal. Let's see, anybody else here in the chat that I missed? I hope I didn't miss anyone. Sometimes I do actually see, like check the stream later on. I'll talk a little bit closer to the mic. Sorry about that. So yeah, sometimes I'll miss somebody here and there, so please If I haven't said hey after a few minutes, just remind me. So it's talking about a bunch of different things. Donald Yates says, I think it's cool that this is your view of the moon, and here in Seattle my view is fogged out. It is really sweet that we were able to share this all together in one unified place, right? It's kind of, it's not kind of, it's exactly a manifestation of the whole focusing into one little node, but then that one little node where I'm able to send this image goes out to all of y'all, but all of y'all are looking at this one little node, and we're all creating this instantiation of a YouTube video together. Did I say hey to Copper Trops? Great to see you, Copper. One of the oldest G's on the channel. And Hurricane, that's a good recommendation. I'll look for that one. That's a good one. I'm just looking up some of the other chats that I missed. Shockwave dropping some knowledge. Awesome. Ellie Wynn says, hit my thumb filament, thank you. Love that. So yeah, I mean, tell me what you think in the chat, though, this idea that, like, yes, we haven't been told this by science, and there are no articles about it, but if you look at the human nervous system, and then you look at the local supercluster, the Laniakea, and then you look at some river tributaries from Google Earth, and then you look at the palm of your hand, right? And then you look at your hair under a microscope, and you go on and on, you look at these shapes, and you're like, this is exactly the same type of dendritic filamentary growth pattern at all sizes and all scales. So my question is, like, why do we see our nervous system and not everything around our nervous system? And I think it's a gradation of resonance. So at the center, the core, and if you think of the core, I was going to say, we're talking about spirit or soul, but if you think that spirit, let's say we can identify, or if we just decide to talk about it like this, we'll say spirit is the breathing, is the breath, is the resonance, is the compression rarefaction of the wavefront. And we say the soul is the base, so it's the root, it's the core. So in a way, the soul, via respiration or spirit, exists and resonates in the field, which is, some people could call it God, or the Vedic field, or the ether, and on and on. So you see how, like, we can unify. I think somebody mentioned it earlier about the theory of everything. Was it Lindsay, maybe? I think about that a lot, because you have, you know, the theory of everything with Kurt Jaimungal. You've got, like, Elegant Universe. You've got Thrive. You've got a lot of independent people that are like, this is the theory of everything, and this is the theory of everything. But the thing is, it's interesting, because if you really want the theory of everything, you also need to know the theory of nothing, right? This is the Zen Alan Watts way of looking at it, where, like, when you're trying to find the answer so hard that you ignore the background. So the theory of everything includes the theory of nothingness. So the thing, what we believe as space in between human bodies and entities, is not space. It's information and knowledge and light, just in a different phase, like ice, water, steam, etc. Light, information, whatever you want to call God, or the what do they call it, the atom, basically, the quanta that you can't break any further. Well, I'm trying to remember what it's called, but there's a word for it. The irreducible, you know, the irreducible nature of life, whatever you want to call that. Ultimately, that's what we are. We are the irreducible instance of life. We're a resonant version of it that is not exactly like a rock or a computer or a bird, but the essence, the irreducible nature of it, is actually absolutely the same stuff. And when I say that with a lot of conviction. I'm open to being wrong, but if you put together all the different you know, research topics, and you listen to the people who are studying this, they all come to that same sort of conclusion, but they never again are decisive about it to the point where they can start creating science past that, like evolving science, right? They don't say there's an observer. They say the observer effect is a paradox. They don't say we have a reality that's a controlled hallucination, but also we have control. They just say it's a controlled hallucination, just deal with it. They don't say it's a simulated reality, but because we control our own bodies, we made the simulation. So it's always here's the big, dramatic, seductive header, and then you need the descriptor, you need the qualifier, or the context. And we have no context for humanity because people think that humans are separate from not only one another, but Earth, and on and on and on. But of course, the physics says we're not. So who's going to make this big decision and move past it? Astralis Ren says, I was just reading that the Nagas are really live circuits, the energy tunnels. They just characterize that concept as snakes. Interesting stuff. Yeah, I would. I mean, it's twofold, right? I used to think, oh, they use snakes to represent electricity, but if you really think about it, snakes are the living embodiment of electricity wires that have grown matter, dense matter, along these filaments in the shape of a snake. And we as humans are co-creating the snake while the snake is radiating the shape of a snake. So we're not only experiencing idea of snake exists in relation to us, but snake is the literal embodiment of the field. So you see, like, it's romantic to look at it one way or another, right? Because you want to say, it's just this, I figured it out, but it's also this other thing always as the counterpart to it. Ellie Wynn says something great. Need my Z-pinch massaged. I love that on every level. All right, time for a little track here. Gosh, this Prosecco is good. I'll toast y'all. Hope everybody's doing great. I know not everyone is doing great, but right now we're all together and we're all alive. So I'll take that as a win. An Ellie win. All right, here's a little tune coming in called, what is it? Hurricane? Here we go. I thought I was being clever here, but it didn't work, so let me hop in and say what's up while I pick this other song. I clicked on it, and SoundCloud is odd sometimes. It'll just like close the tab when I click a song. Really stupid. I want to say hi to Truth Whisperer. Truth Whisperer says, I wonder if we could train our mind and eyes to see and perceive everything differently. I feel over the millennia we've trained ourselves to see everything how we do now. We need to start retraining. I think it's a great comment. It makes me think of something, though, which is this idea of acceptance and perspective. So yes, there is a sense of retraining, right? Once you understand the answer to things, it's not simply enough to know the answer, right? You need to actually practice living in that state or in that answer. So there's that. So there is retraining going on. However, what I would say is, this whole time, the human body, the self, has been doing this already extraordinary thing, I think is a really big point here. Right? Many people don't think that because there's, again, the nature of reality dictates that 90% of people will always feel like everything is wrong. And the reason that's the case is, I imagine, is that the structure of the nature of reality needs the majority of entities to feel like there's urgency to continue vibrating. And then you have the 10% or 20% or 5% or 1% of our reality that makes all the music, writes all the books, thinks of all the ideas, and performs all the music, and so on and so forth, also rules and governs, also has all the money, etc., right? If you think about it in terms of this tiny fraction versus the greater whole. But it's a gradient, right? There's a point along for everybody and everything along this gradient between total awareness and total unawareness, which I don't think there really is total awareness or unawareness. At some point, it's close to unawareness and it's close to total awareness. But the whole point of the system itself is the variability, tiny bit of variability among the greater whole. If you imagine a stew or a soup that you're cooking, you don't need to put an equivalent amount of salt or spices in the stew as the rest of the stew. You only put a little bit of spice or salt or pepper into the stew to affect the greater whole. And the same way, you have an apple, when you cut into an apple, the majority of it is flesh. And you have these tiny hard seeds in the middle. Look at the geometric relation between these two things, and you'll see the nature of all reality. And furthermore, if you consider these two things, the fact that if you try and replant the flesh of an apple or the skin of an apple in the ground, you won't get a tree. But if you take these tiny little seeds, the densest, most calcified parts of the electric current, and replant it, you will get another entire tree, not just another apple. So the entire genetic resonance of an apple tree is deeply encoded, more encoded to the point where 90% of the apple is what makes it delicious. 10% of the apple is what makes it propagate. And on. You can take every example in life that we have right now, and you'll realize that you can apply this similar type of principle to it. Many people don't like that because it reveals the truth of the fact that there's class warfare to such a high degree where a tiny subset of people have all the money. So I think that's the biggest reason most people don't want to talk about this fundamental truth. But it is fundamentally true. Stars to background, human being to our field. Our field is what pressures the entire human body into the shape that it is. The compression rarefaction of the side. Look at the outline of a human body and the symmetry. It's omnidirectional, but it's also asymmetrical to a slight degree where you can have 8 billion people who look slightly different but mostly the same. And I've watched hundreds of videos in the past few months. Not a single person talks about this. The shape of the human body. Like, why is the human body shaped the way it is? Nobody talks about it. Why are all animals and creatures equally kind of symmetrical to a human body or a human face? Like a butterfly is the shape of the human bridge of the nose. A leopard is the shape of a butterfly plus our pelvis. Birds are like an amalgam of different things, but essentially the shape of bodies on Earth, never talked about, never discussed. I've never heard it discussed, just period. So let me know what you think of that in the chat. Do you think the shape of the human body, have you ever heard a reasonable explanation as to why our head is bulbous and the neck is pinched and then our shoulders are wide and then our stomach is pinched and then our legs are wide at the thigh and then pinched at the knee and then wide at the etc. It's gone. Like peas in a pod, that is the pressure mediation of the entire strength of the universe imposing on a branching structure of the human form into the field. So we, as this incredibly deified plasma along these filaments, grows into the field. The entire weight of the universe, the weight of the world, pinches us down into this compression, rarefaction, omnidirectional, what looks like symmetrical 2D symmetry is actually a three-dimensional resonant field. And again, no rational explanation for why there are 8 billion people who look identical yet slightly different. Mary, hola, amiga, ¿cómo está? I hope you're having a great weekend. I haven't played catch yet. That's good. I was thinking about playing catch, and you have arrived. So I was talking about butterflies. Maybe that's why you popped up. Yeah. What do you think of Ellie Wynn says I talk about it in terms of like the symmetry of the shape of the human body. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those really fundamental questions that people don't typically want to talk about or ask. I think mostly because there's no real good explanation for it besides what I'm saying, which is we are vibrational entities. Think about it, like, we live in a reality where just now people are catching on to the fact that animals, like monkeys, chimps, orangutans, etc., spider monkeys, are very close to human. You know, they're not exactly the same, and of course they don't have all the same characteristics. However, there is a human element to them, and on and on. So mice, rats, even insects nowadays are befriended. Excuse me. A little congested lately. So the nature of our reality is an expansive one where slowly humanity is coming to the realization that not only are all entities connected and similar, but also that nature's in and of itself is a continuum with self, as opposed to this separate self. So I think that's our next step in evolving space and astronomy and science. Whether I'm a part of it or whether it just happens, I think doesn't really matter. I think it's just 10 years ago people weren't really talking about it, and then 7, 8 years ago people were like, of course, the universe is electric, it's all connected. And then there was this turning point, but then we're at another juncture where the Pandora's box has been opened. You have people like, what's his name? Alexander Unziker and Sky Scholar and Eileen McCusick and Rupert Sheldrake, and you also have people like Sabine Hassenfelder, who she, got really viral, but I'm not really a huge fan of that type of dogmatic teardown, because I think it doesn't really allow us to go anywhere. Again, partially why sometimes I'll critique Electric Universe or Thunderbolts Project videos for this premise that the Big Bang is a lie and dark matter doesn't exist, and these huge statements that don't allow us to talk about things. I think it's just a way of approaching the world where you can just keep all of these ideas in mind, make a decisive idea, and then keep working. There's no point in just stopping. So I think I went off on a bit of a tangent, but that's sort of what I was talking about. It triggered a comment that somebody left me about, trying to think. It was a few episodes ago, but I think Z-Proxy left me a note, and I think somebody else left me a note that I want to address. But if you're around, leave me, hit me up with a question in the chat if that triggered the same thing. Ellie Wynn says, I talked about the mystery of the human shape for decades. That's why I have few friends. Right? See, people, it's like, wait, I mean, it's literally over people's heads. I don't know, I think when people feel like they're they don't have the adequate language or background to talk about things, they react in funny ways. But I find that interesting equally because, like I said, the inherent nature of reality implies 90% of people not being able to grasp that they are God. You know, so like it's important that every, you know, I don't know if you've listened to the Alan Watts one where he says, you know, people are just taken in by this ruse or this government or the media and so on, and they should be taken in by this propaganda, because that's the whole point. The point is that I'll give you the flip side of it. Once you know you're God and you have total control over this world, you realize that you also don't have to do anything. So once you get past mastership, you also realize that asking the fundamental question, like why we're here or how things exist, is also a futile question, because again, we brought ourselves here. We are the same entity that have created everything. And I think the word God is replaceable with ether or continuum or unified field or Vedic field or the Akashic record or the Akash or whatever flavor of metaphysics you like. I think there's a way of considering counter space. So the stars against the background, the seed to the flesh, the human body to the human aura or the human field. It's just other, self and other, it combined is the whole idea. I mean, holistic science has a new age woo-woo feel to it. But again, tuning forks resonate with us for a reason, because we are resonance. If you look at Eileen McCusick's work, and we can tell that people are looking at us and from what direction, because our eyes focus beams of radiation, like Superman idea, you know, like the idea of Superman, and that's how we actually see things, by entangling with these very, like what we think of as invisible. But even this idea of invisible fields, we are seeing the actual thing in front of us. So I think like it's just a semantic thing where the dogma and the words and the language and the seductiveness and the romance of it all and the celebrity of it all is part of a system that is keeping us in the dark on purpose. And we are doing that to ourselves in order to have the human experience. So it's inextricable, I think. Yo, I see Cyber Sully in the chat. Great to see you, LG. One heart, one mind, one substance. Everything in this creation should be held in reverence. Couldn't agree more. Again, partially why I adhere to this idea that you can always find a problem, but isn't it more rare and interesting to acknowledge how great things actually are sometimes? I'll give you an example. Like, you're never going to see a headline that says 95% of the world doing great right now. 90% of your city didn't kill each other today. Nuclear war averted for the, day 20 million. You'll never see that headline. You'll always see this one person out of a billion people caused a tremendous amount of havoc. And that in and of itself, that propaganda that still pisses me off, but now I've come to terms with, in and of itself applies to the whole theme of you're picking and choosing these tiny little points out of all the good stories to say, look how bad this one thing is. I see liminal, the universe is made of bits, 10111001, but I think it's a gradation of even ones and zeros. Between 0 and 1, there are no real numbers. Shout outs to one of those cats I've been listening to. But I like that idea. The real number idea is a really fascinating concept where there's no really fixed value. If you were to truly plot any actual number in the universe, it's vibrational. So it's 4.00112. It's every single number. There's a debate that most people don't know about real numbers versus arbitrary mathematical numbers, or sorry, real numbers in math versus reality. the vibrational reality. Mary Quite says, what is Akashic record? It's actually I think it's Akashic record with an A in front of that, so Akashic, Akasha, or Akashic. It could probably also be pronounced Akashic, silent A, or just like an invoked A. But the Akashic record is a term used in certain writings, either, I think from, I wonder if it's Hindu origin, it might be Sumerian, might be maybe a New Age term that was applied to past historical events, but I think it implies the field. It's just a different word for the field that, it's just, to me it sounds like a very romantic and great, it's great branding, the Akashic record. It's the Akashic record. It's like an Indiana Jones thing, but it's the field. It's the memory field of ether around the body, or air, or dark matter. Same word that people have for God or nothingness, I think. As Cybercelly said, it is the record of the totality of this existence. So it is that too. Astralis Ren says, yes, Akash means space. So you see, it's not only does it have multiple explanations, but really if we try and do a unification here, we can see that it's trying, all these terms are implying the same thing. And I don't mean like I said earlier, like I don't think spirit and soul are interchangeable. I think soul is kind of the bundle of the electricity, and spirit is the vibrational frequency, right? So, but I think in this case, the Akashic record, ether, dark matter are interchangeable. It seems. Let's see. All right, time for a song. Time for a track. Did I get a request earlier for a track, or no? Or is it just like rando? What about No We Can Survive? Is it
Cost of life delivers, who it will, so we can survive. Oh yeah. Now we cross the river.
Saturn. Saturn's looking amazing, but also pretty far away. You can see much smaller than we typically see. But you can see some nice separation in the rings. It's the 8-inch after all, so take what we can get, but it seems like it's been a long while since we've seen Saturn, so I'm loving it. Thanks for all the wonderful comments, everybody, for hanging out for this long. It's, how long have we been going? An hour and a half? 9:40 p.m. I'm going to start wrapping it up in the next 15-20. I think the moon is almost done, so let's stay with Saturn, listen to some catch here. Leave me some thoughts in the chat. Let's start from the top. We'll start rolling out. That was Catch, longtime classic, fave of the channel. I get it requested all the time. I can't complain, I guess, about having a song that people like that much. So, thanks everybody. Thanks Mary. Whew. Alright, I got a little pee break. So how about we end this with a few live tunes. I'm also getting hungry, so I zoomed in here to Saturn. We got a really nice view of Saturn and its moons. Tethys, Dione, Enceladus, Iapetus, Shockwave, Titan, Mimas, right? I think I named most of the ones, and then obviously there are many more, but you can see Saturn right there. Its moons in full glory, in gloreth. So 9:47 on the clock. Hope everybody's having a great night so far. And let's see, should we play some tunes? Let me, I got this new guitar. You gotta let me know if this sounds balanced. Does it sound real balanced? Or do I need to move away? Does it seem so balanced? Or do I need to move away? Yeah. Do I need to move away? Oh, tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me. Does it sound real balanced? Let's do a song or two. Ooh, boxes and boxes, your infinite toxins all got something to say. Indestructible ideas are vanishing, aimlessly wandering away. The nation crawls insatiable into my nighttime activities, your liberties, or can you say, you're my sister and I love you forever. Say, you're my brother and I love you forever. Say, you're my sister and I love you forever. Fine time, just fine time, oh yeah. You're my brother. Ooh, love you for I recall I knew the sun, the attitudes of fallen graces. Watch out, all we love is from the one with healing bones and body racing. Would you tell me what you like? I got so much love for you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. You're my sister and I love you forever. You're my brothers and I love you forever. You're my sister, come on. You're my sister, I love you forever. But you don't have to say a word. Ooh, oh, you don't have to say a word. You can love other people. Forget about what you heard. I believe we'll make it beautiful. Oh, you don't have to say a word. We can love other people. Don't forget about what you heard. I believe we'll make it beautiful. to me. I got a lost head in the sand hole. Toss, run around, pick a farm, hazel in hand, with a real posse showing up, facing its long, the legs down to the electrical charge. I see I'm kissing on a rain cloud, and I packed us all to my dreams falling, and I feel this full-on vibration. You don't have to say a word, and you can love other people and just forget about what you heard. And I believe we make it beautiful. I believe we make it beautiful. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. Oh, you don't have to say a word, and you can love other people. Oh, elliptical catalyst. Oh, elliptical. Oh, elliptical catalyst. 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 Alright, let's adjust this image here. Boxes. I like it. Sorry. Let me know if the levels are okay here. I just don't want it to be crackling. I'd rather it's a little bit low than popping. Even though it could be popping in other ways. What other songs do I remember? I don't remember many, but let's see if I can remember. Forgot my own song. Alright, got it now. I'm gonna fuck it up again, I'm sure. Through this dream, fly away from my sinking body. I got dragged into this place, back from time and space. I was in line for another party. And Mama done came along and asked me where the hell I thought I was going. Said I got nothing to hide, and nowhere sounds pretty good to me. I'm staying with the dream I make believe in the light of the moon come down. Pretty mama, oh, don't make me come round, and the depth of your frequency star. Little man, come on, don't make them come round in the light of the moon. I will steal your heart, come on, light of the moon, moon, yeah, yeah, yeah. So welcome to the greatest show on earth. It was your lively intervention, we're the favorites since birth. The longest sharing my confession. And if you speculate the worth of a lifetime in search of good intentions, oh, you'll find out flat. Oh, I will steal your heart. Maybe I gotta change the song or something like that. In the light of the moon, the crazy old moon. In the light of the moon. Oh, that's your way. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's your way. I'll make believe. Oh, that's your way. That's your way. The light of the moon. Alright, little flat, little flat. I haven't played that in a while. Still hanging out here with the Kronos, the Saturn, beautiful Saturn. I think this is a great view. I mean, I was going to zoom in, but this is a little more maintainable for the time being. A little bit longer here. Wait, is that a satellite? Oh my god, check it out, y'all. Check out this crazy shot. What's going on? Wow, look at that. Should we track this satellite together? Or UFO? It's probably a satellite. Right? Yeah. Check it out. That's lucky. Very lucky. How cool is that? It's like, it's got to be a holy shit. Is it just going faster? Are y'all seeing this? What the fuck? I'm just going to follow it. Let's keep going here. So I got the Sony Nexstar 8-inch going to the Celestron Nexstar 8-inch with a Sony A6500 here directly to the scope, and we're tracking this, what looks like a satellite that just passed Saturn in our view. Typically it's hard to track satellites or objects like this with such a tight focal length, or wide, tight focal length as opposed to the focal reducer, but wild, it's still going against the backdrop. Let's see, hopefully it'll pass some stars and we'll kind of see its, it seems like it's going in the same direction, but really crazy. Bim bam boops. You see a little bit of green-red pixelation on it. I mean, I'm not sure if that's legit, but let's see if it does something really crazy. like just completely jet off screen or make a weird angle. I'm barely tracking it. It's moving super duper slowly. But it's also super bright. That's wild. I'm also recording, I think. Am I? I think I'm recording, yeah. Oh, look at that. Okay, now it's come up against a star. Hopefully that's not another object and it's a full-on alien invasion. What the absolute F right is going on? It's just parallax, right? Yeah, that's just a star. No, 2 ships at once. Oh my god, it's coming. Let's keep going here. I kind of want to play. What can I play with one hand? Tracking unidentifiable objects. Tracking with one hand. Tracking unidentified objects. Tracking with one hand. With one hand. With one hand. Drone. Oh, see, another star coming up here. Now we can tell its trajectory. Now we can tell it's going. I guess it's going southeast or something. Multitasking. Astronomy. Look at this, coming up against another constellation. I have no idea what to tell you, but this is probably fun. Somebody told me 20 years ago, this is what I'd be doing on my Saturday night. Check it out. Look at that. So cool. Let's see, I don't know, I'm going to go for as long as I can here. This reminds me of back in the day when I first started the channel. there were things all the time just flying by. Alright, but this song is actually going a little bit too, well, it's like a joke told too many times. Let's see if I can't swap this around. It feels like it's even tracking. I mean, if I just put this controller down for a moment, I could probably just... That is... I mean, I feel like we've tracked GPS satellites, what are they called? Geo-orbital, right? Is that what it's called? There's a term for it. Before, but they've been a little faster than this. This is just moving at a snail's pace. It's wild. So what's a song that could... it doesn't even look like it's moving now because it's weird. Play a weird song. Satellites, you know, geostationary, right? That's the word. So there are geostationary orbits where there are satellites that are moving, you know, in tandem. Like if you look at the Starlink stuff, you'll see like 5 or 6 lights like this all moving together against the stars. But typically, I mean, I feel like I've noticed them moving faster. This feels particularly slow to me because I'm barely moving the scope, and we're in a wide shot. We're in a close-up shot here. You can see it against the backdrop of the stars, I think, as it goes. Unless this is something more like... But like Hubble and ISS are much faster than this. Like much, much faster. This is something like an Iridium or GPS sat, I think, but it's still, I feel like it's moving quite slowly. What the hell is it? Now it's speeding up, and as soon as I start the song, it's speeding up. I gotta track it, can't lose it. Come back, come back, come back. You see, it's really fascinating. Or maybe it's just the incline. Maybe it's just the incline. Inclination, maybe it's just the incline. Inclination to stray. I gotta center this frame. Such a complex task that no one asked me to do, but I'm glad I did, to be here to share it with you. I can do both. Let's keep going with this thing. Staying on a space boat. Lots of supplies, not slaves, out neighbors, taking off on the skies. Oh, let's fly with a motion of electric notions in mind. Slow, slow satellite. Time to adjust my frame of reference, my frame of reference. I know it's time for us to try. Frame of reference. Oh no, now it's time to try. Oh, now it's time. It's a Spaceball for sure, Meg. Meg nailed it. This is Spaceball, the movie. Where's Mel Gibson Brooks when you need him? No, that's not fair. Mel Brooks is awesome. Mel Gibson's in that job. See, it jumps around, like it's slowing down and speeding up, but I can't tell. I can't tell for sure. I mean, we're tracking it, and I'm sure somebody's gonna like think, well, you know, I'm not actually, yeah, like, I don't know, it's hard to tell. I definitely think it's been following the same trajectory. We can tell that by the background stars, right? That kind of makes me think that it's one of those satellites, but also it's interesting. It's pretty particular. You know I'm not one of those people that thinks UFOs instantly, but this one looks pretty fun, pretty fascinating. Copper Trop says, have I done any experiments work with Fresnel lenses? Remember back in the first couple of years, and all the people who took the Fresnel lenses out of TVs and did all that stuff? I was pretty deep into it at that point, but I literally have boxes and boxes and boxes of early TakeBackSpace experiments, magnets and water things and ferrofluids and Tesla coils, and whoa, wait. That's not Mars, is it? No, it's not Mars. Is that Spica? Look at this. Mars would be brighter than that, right? See the angle? So it's kind of going up at what is that? 110 degrees? Or 5 degrees off north. That's a really good indicator. That's why. Oh shit! I got lost here, focusing on the orange object. That's fucking hilarious. It's starting to look. Oh wait, no. Did it just blink? Look at this. Are you seeing it? It's dead center right now on screen, and it is flickering a little bit. I don't know. Let me know in the chat if you want me to keep tracking this, or should we go back to Saturn for a bit, play some tunes. This is kind of intriguing, though. If you scrub back and forth, Mary, you'll see that every so often it'll pass some some still stationary stars. Not stationary in terms of completely still, but vibrating still stars. I always feel like I shouldn't finish that and get a copyright. Track it, huh, Dagger? Okay. Alright, so since that's the case, I'll just sit here and I'll play some tunes, but, I don't know. Let's see what I can do. Space Ball of Confusion. Yeah, let's keep tracking it here. I'm gonna actually open the aperture a bit more because, I want to make sure we don't lose it if it gets dim. Maybe that wasn't better, was it? Yeah, it introduces too much pixelation, so let's go back. It's actually getting a little fainter, and now, see, it kind of feels like it's moving a bit faster again. Let's kind of stay with it here. Yeah, hard to tell. Sleep, don't slow me while you dream. See, Mary, here's a star coming up. No way. A couple of stars coming up. No way for the ones you left, and we crawl up beside you, and we fly, I will fly. You're my hurricane. Dreams now I lost you. Dreams now I lost you. You're my hurricane. Seas now I lost you. No sea. Alright, I'll get it back. Get you back. Bring it back. It's getting a little bit fuzzy, but there we go. Painted on my calorie, oh yeah. Oh, you know I want a little It's hard to tell what's out there sometimes. It's hard to smell mistakes in space. It's hard to have pancakes and not eat them. I wish you could learn how to make a crepe. You know, toasty on the outside and gooey on the inside. I wish you could learn how to make me a crepe. Just make me a goddamn crepe, oh yeah. Fluffy space balls. Well, speaking of space balls, I don't know why that's reminding me of Wall Thornhill. Fly and reinsert yourself into the field in peace, or in the quantum array Wall Thornhill. He did so much, but also didn't get to really live through the change in humanity, although he probably is really living, you know, the next field over, which is fascinating in and of itself. Oh shit, sorry, I'm rambling here and I lost the track. Dang, wait. That's still it, right? Yeah. Gosh, this is the longest track so far. Remember the one from like 5 years ago, the Jupiter track? This reminds me of that. So we're going to keep going. I forgot what I'm saying. What was I saying? Yeah, Wall Thornhill and the snowball theory. It made me think of the electric comet idea, so we could just talk about that for a moment, because what if this is just like a meteor? Or an asteroid. It could be an asteroid, maybe, right? It's not a comet, but it also could be just a satellite. Either way, it's really fun. We get to see this, and yeah, but the point is that comets are not fluffy snowballs of ice from out there where things are cold. Just to give Wall some justice in terms of the electric comet, which is a hard sedimentary rock with what's that term for layering, stratified rock that's electrical and that interacts with its environment electrically. And so it's just one of those things that I thought of for a moment, the fact that we still have this cosmology that references comets as dirty snowballs from out there where things are cold. It's pretty weird. Pretty strange. We didn't expect things to be cold out there where things were cold. I'm just playing, but contemporary science language and presentation is buffoonery to a degree. Sometimes it just seems like that to me, especially if you look up the findings of Juno on Jupiter and listen to the scientists talk about what they discovered at Jupiter using the Juno spacecraft. You'll see how little they really understand about what they're doing, but yet at the same time they can send craft to Jupiter and receive data. So it's both incredible and bewildering and also insanely like limiting. And I'll give you an example for like the counter rotation of the rings of Jupiter that we were talking about a couple weeks ago. This idea is not explained at all. Nobody really understands why the bands of Jupiter are the way they are and why they counter-rotate without really taking into account counter-rotation of the Birkeland currents and Birkeland filaments that go out through space. And then, of course, understand counter-rotation and how that really is inherent in all of nature, the coaxial circuit. And you ask them about that, no ideas. Mary Quite says, it's standing still. Does it have an aura? I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like blinking, almost like it would be like an aircraft blinks almost, but it's going. You can see the parallax with the stars around it. Still going here, and I'm pointing the scope pretty much due southwest right now at like 30 degrees at the horizon, so it's not very high up. Not very high up at all. My green laser is out of batteries, Dagger. My red scope is out of batteries. Everything's out of batteries. I haven't done astronomy in this back room for a while, so that's a good call. If you do have a laser pointer, well, next time I'll just be more prepared. Yeah, the one, the craft or the satellite is dead center of the screen, and you'll see right now coming up as I'm talking, like 2 other stars to the top left where it'll cross. One that looks a little more green, and that, I know it looks like those are the ones moving, but it's just that, it's just parallax. It's not just parallax. Parallax is fascinating. Nothing is just anything. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up no matter what in a few minutes, because I'm getting real hungry here. And we played a few songs, talked about almost everything, evolving astronomy. Let me bring this back to the center before we lose it. We got to see some Saturn, got to see the moon up close. Remember, give Rupert Sheldrake and Eileen McCusick a whirl, along with Alan Watts. And leave me a great comment for next time. I appreciate everybody who's already left comments. Yeah, let me know some final thoughts here in the chat. Let's see, and I'll just play a recorded song so I can just keep track. And next time we'll do some more live stuff. This one's called Golden.
Understand your clothes, enemies like Easter bunnies. I don't wanna play the pro. 44 v 44. Don't sweep the streets no more. I'm right against depression. Cash machines can go to hell.
of don't want to cut it, but I also think it's probably a satellite ultimately because it's just moving so slowly at the same trajectory. But look, this is it close up. So one of the coolest tracks that I've had in a while, maybe ever, because we all saw it together, kind of passing Saturn. Oh, damn it, every time. No, don't go. Don't go just yet. Stay here. So yeah, double X zoom on this satellite slash UFO slash something. It'd be cool if it were an asteroid that we're tracking, but it probably is just a geocentric satellite that's very far away. Very interesting, either way. So thanks so much, everybody. Shout out each of you individually by telepathy, so you know I appreciate you, each and every one of you, including everybody who wasn't here tonight. Have a great rest of your Saturday. It's Saturday, right? I think it is. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you perhaps tomorrow or the day after, depending on the weather and my energy. Now that everything's set up again, I can probably do this back porch thing, and I would like to see some more Saturn as well as, yeah, the rest of stuff. So please leave me a comment about anything I talked about tonight. I'm always happy to read that. Share the video. Stay safe, stay wise, and spread some love. That's all I can say right now. That's what we need. Even though you can't get rid of all the hate and evil in the world, but you can spread love. This is your Captain signing off on another amazing space screen. Take care, everybody. Catch you on the way.
You can love other people.